Hey everybody, first of all, I want to thank you guys for tapping into my channel, Dani's Diary with me, Danielle Yashai. This is a brand new channel, and with this channel, I will be sharing with you guys some really intimate, personal stories, some stories that I've never shared with anyone, but they're my stories. And so I'm sharing my stories with you in hopes to, first of all, connect and to help me heal and to get past some childhood traumas, some relationship traumas, some parenting traumas. And as I am preparing myself to share and having to kind of like go back down memory lane, it's bringing back some emotions and memories that were pretty traumatic. And so just bear with me. I might shed some tears. You might cry with me, but the blessing is that I made it through, and I'm here to even share my stories. All right. So again, welcome to my channel. So this first video is going to be dedicated to basically giving you a quick overview of the stories that I am going to be sharing. Okay, so I would like to share my stories chronologically. I've already recorded some videos, and it's taking me so long to actually upload and start sharing my stories because I kind of really do want to take you guys back as far back as I could remember and then bring you up to speed. That's the plan. That's the idea. And so here are a couple of stories that I'm going to be sharing. Okay. I believe that for a majority of us, the memories that stick out the most to us are the memories that impacted our lives the most. And so a lot of memories can get lost in the sauce, but there are a lot of things that stood out to me. And when I go back down memory lane and I think about my childhood, there's a specific memory that I have. Um, and it was the first time I realized that I was living in a house with a mother who wasn't your normal mother. And for a lot of people, having a mother who has bipolar disorder is normal to them, but I'm pretty sure they had to come to terms or experience her kind of having an episode to really understand. And so my first real memory was when my apartment was smoky and the cops were called, and my mother had to get taken away, and she was gone for some time, and I had no idea, but I remember her acting not herself. She wasn't acting like herself, and the realization kind of, I want to say that I had to have been about 4 years old, and I remember it clearly because we were living on T-Bow Avenue. We had a bunk bed, and I was on the top bed, and she was acting really out of the norm. And I remember being afraid. I remember the fear that I felt. And so that was my first memory that I can go back to, where I kind of experienced and I understood that my life was kind of, my mom was a little different. And so I'll be going into details about my experiences and some of the things that I had to witness and see and endure, because my mother suffers from schizophrenia and bipolar disorder. Shortly after that, um, I found out that my mother was also dibbling in voodoo and witchcraft. And so weird things started to happen around me, to me, crazy things. I mean, things like waking up, having dreams that a cat came out and scratched me out of nowhere in the dream, and I would wake up with like bruises and scratches on my arm, waking up with handprints on my arm. I mean, like real supernatural, abnormal situations. And so I'll be like going into detail about those stories. Okay. So I'll also be sharing. So yes, my mother went through things, and they took us from her custody, and we ended up in a foster shelter. So I was in the system, and that was a scary situation for me. Honestly, when I was going through it, I honestly thought that I was with family that I just didn't know. Um, and apparently, my dad was fighting for me. I'm not really sure why I wasn't with my dad's family. It wasn't a thought that crossed my mind, but I was living with a family that was not my own. And I experienced some things, being left by myself, being humped on by the boys there under the bed, um, being they used to isolate me. Like, everybody would be in a room watching a movie, and I would be told that I wasn't allowed to come and watch the movie with them. Like, so I've experienced a lot of isolation and being cut off. And, and I think that a part of that kind of shaped me into being okay with being by myself. That's a story for another day. But yeah, getting into that. Another story that I'll be sharing is my first experience with sexual abuse and being molested by my mother's boyfriend, her being informed, us moving, and then him reappearing back into our lives and being able to do it again. How? As an adult, I have so many questions, and I tried to remind myself that my mother, she deals with things mentally, so how could I've forgiven her, and but just as a parent, let me tell you, first of all, when my mother is, on her medication, you would never know that she has a mental a disease or ailment. You would never know. And so, as a parent now, I just like have so many questions that I had to kind of let go and put to bed, because I don't believe that I will ever get an answer to that question, one that would justify this man being able to come back into our home again. And so that was heavy for me. So I'll be sharing that. Knowing what I know now, I understand why um, I dealt with, my father's family not wanting really to be that involved with me. And I believe that it really was focused around not having to deal with my mother. Um, so, yeah, I grew up a lot of my life feeling kind of ostracized from my father's family. And, it was really, really unfair. I also, on my mom's side of the family, I felt ostracized from that side as well. Whew, I went through a lot of things with my mom and her mother. Listen, I remember being 8 months pregnant and me coming to my grandmother's house, and she told me, and I was actually going to visit my son. And after going to visit my son, like, I wasn't too far away from my grandmother's house, and I had to go to the bathroom real bad. And so I go to her house and I knock on her door. First, I called her because I know she, her rules is don't you come to my house without calling first. So I called, but she didn't answer. And so I said, well, let me just go over there. So I'm knocking on the door and I can hear people inside. And I knew that at the time my cousin was living in her apartment, and her apartment had two doors. Her apartment was so big. Um, Her apartment had two doors, and I knocked on one door to let my cousin know, like, listen, it's Jesse. Here goes my grandmother. I hear my grandmother yelling in back. I knew it was you. That's why I didn't answer my phone. You shouldn't have came to my house. I was 8 months pregnant. I was about to burst. I had to go into a restaurant. I believe that's what I did. I went into a restaurant to go use their bathroom. I had to go use the bathroom of strangers because my grandmother refused to let me in. We're going to get into that. Listen, y'all, I'll be sharing how I lost my virginity. I'll be sharing how, I'll be sharing with you guys a story about the first time. Well, not the first time. Well, yes, the first time that my mother ever allowed me to leave the house and go with a friend without any supervision to the movies. It was the worst decision that was made. Because that night, me and my friend decided not to go to the movies. We ended up getting intoxicated and high, and we, we were take well, I was taken advantage of. They told my friend that I had left. I have no. All right, so let me go back. So much. We ended up getting drunk and high, and these boys were like, one of the boys that I was connecting with was kissing all on my neck. And I was like, no, stop! I gotta go to the bathroom. So I go to the bathroom, when I there was like a Spanish restaurant. This is over on the Grand Concourse. It was a Spanish restaurant, and when I was in the restaurant, one of the young men told my friend that I left her, and then they told her that I left her, and so she left me, and I ended up in an abandoned building with about 4 or 5 guys in a pit bull. So I'll be sharing with you the details of that story. And also how I was told by my grandmother that I need to just confess and that I had sex with all of these guys and I didn't want to tell anybody, but it's okay because I could tell her. Trauma? You talking trauma? You talking, we gonna get into it. I'd also like to share with you guys my first spiritual encounter with the Father. Me witnessing a man get possessed with a demonic spirit. The first time that I spoke in tongues. I'll be sharing even my backsliding stages, which I'll refer to as the Christian bipolar experience. I'll be talking to you about, how my dad really didn't want me. He really didn't want my mom to have me. And there were so many ways that he kind of like solidified to me that he cared about my brother more. But when I became an adult, I forgave him. He moved in with me. He was doing things and saying things and lying about things that he used to do and saying lie about when he was with my mom. And it was just becoming all too much and too heavy for me to actually to deal with him, my 2 children. And so I had to get him out of my apartment. But thank God he moved in with a young woman, with a woman that took care of him. And I feel like he resented me for it. And so he never wanted me to visit. It was a lot. And so I want to really go into detail about each story. Okay, like even with my spiritual journey, like I really had like this pursuit of perfection. Like I wanted to be as perfect as I could be because I felt like the more righteous that I was, I would be blessed more, because I just felt like my life was just so full of disappointment and battles and negative energy, and me allowing people into my life that shouldn't have been in my life. And I just didn't understand what I was doing wrong. And I truly believe it's because of what I experienced in my home and what I had to forgive in my home, that I built up like this ability to take anything. I allowed anything as long as I was getting the attention that I desired, or if I was getting some type of companionship. Really, I just needed someone to be there and stay there and not leave, and to love me. And you know what I mean? And so I grew up in a home where I really wasn't talked to, and so I the only thing that I had was God. Like I literally would run up to my roof when I felt like I didn't have anybody, and I would hold myself and I would talk to myself and I would look to the sky and I would say, Father, if you're there, can you hold me? Can you talk to me? Can you let me know that everything is going to be okay? And and I used to say the salvation prayer all the time, and the Father really started to show himself to me and to prove that I wasn't alone. And so when I started having these experiences, like things got better, things got hard, but I was really able to kind of cope. Sorry, I talk with my hands a lot. um and so I really do, I thank God so much that he showed me that he was there, and that he was going to keep me and hold me, and that my mistakes didn't define me, because I became promiscuous. I became somebody that I didn't really like and to see in the mirror. I became this person that I didn't like, and I wasn't And I became, like, in the beginning years of my parenting, I wasn't the best parent. Oh boy, I made so many mistakes. And I always wanted to grow, and I always desired to be who the Father called me to be, but I had to fight past having to deal with my past and then be who I wanted to be in my future. And it really took for me to reflect and to see myself and then remember who the Father told me that I was. And who I was didn't match up. It did not look like the person that I wanted to become. And so I had to be purposeful. Like, I would pray, like, Father, anything that is in me that is not like you, take it away from me. Any part of my characteristic, change it. Give me wisdom. Help me to be a more patient mother, a more kind mother. Because I didn't want to be anything like the parent that I have. And I made a lot of mistakes before I feel like I got it right and I was better, you know. And I'm still growing, and I'm still, I'm still maturing spiritually and as a mother and as a woman of God. But it took a lot of me backsliding and so, like, this last, like, month, I really put myself in position to consecrate and to rededicate my life. And that took for me to remove myself from certain circles and certain people and certain things, because in order for the Father to reshape you, you cannot be in the same environment around the same people that you need to be delivered from. You have to really set yourself apart from your norm so that you can be and become something that you've never seen. Like, the person that I desire to be, I've never actually physically had that type of a person in my life. And so, it's all brand new to me. The way that I desire to speak, the way that I desire to be, the person that I desire to be for my children, I've never had it. I've never seen it. And so it's all brand new, and I want to share these stories with you because I know I'm not the only one who had a messed up childhood. I know I'm not the only one who's been abused and taken advantage of. I'm sorry, hold on. Listen, y'all, my hope truly for this channel is to share my stories so that we as parents are not allowing our traumas to dictate our parenting styles that we have for our children. Because truly, the decisions that we make and the things that we do, the way that we respond to pressure and to depression and to anxiety, and the way that we have internalized our childhood trauma is a direct reflection on how we parent. And if we do not heal and address and confront those things that we are burying in our souls and in our hearts and in our minds, it's going to stifle our growth. And this is the process of breaking the generational curse. This is the process of being able to identify things that has happened to us so that we can heal from it, and we know what to pray against concerning our own children. Because a lot of the things that I've experienced, I realized it's possible to happen to my children as well. And so we have to say it, we have to speak it, we have to, like, I remember seeing this news article about this man who was arrested for raping 3 generations of women in the same family, meaning that he raped the mom or the grandmom, and then he raped the mom or whoever it was, like whatever relative it was 3 different generations. But what would have happened if the first person that was victimized spoke out about it, said something about it? it wouldn't have been able to trickle down. There was some type of fear that this man had over them. There was some kind of hold. There was a reason why that no one said anything. You understand what I'm saying? And so I I am going to be completely transparent with my mistakes and the things that I've done and the things that I desire to do moving forward, so that my children do not have to experience the things that I've experienced. Because regardless to what we teach our children, there's this saying like, do what I say and not what I do. Regardless to what we teach our children are going to do what they see. They are sponges. They are going to emulate your behavior. They are going to emulate your way of responding to pressure. Whether you lock yourself up in a room, or you bawl down crying, or you get more aggressive with your speak, or if you yell and you curse and you, all of those things, all of that, if you are physically punishing them, if you're using corporal punishment to its extent, like, you have to be very careful, because those are the kids that grow up to beat on their wives and to have, they're always fighting in school when they don't know how to talk to their teachers. Why? It's because it's a direct reflection of what they are seeing and what they are absorbing in their communities and in their homes. So these are the things that I'm going to be sharing in Dani's diary. I didn't think that I was going to cry in this one. Lord, but this is how candid I am going to be. I want it to be a little bit more interactive, so I will be having moments where I'm going to be going live, where we can have like Q&As and you guys can share your stories with me. And we can kind of like, engage. I don't want to just be sitting. I got to think, give me some ideas. Like, what are some creative ideas that I can kind of like talk about my story, but also entertain? I got to figure it out, because I don't want to sit here and just be talking to you guys through these videos. I feel like that's going to get boring. I don't know. But if the story is good, you might just sit tight. So let me know in the comments, just some ideas where I can get you guys to kind of engage, what works for you. This is my first channel. I am so brand new to this, but I pray the Father, this is my prayer for this channel, that the Father helps you to heal, helps you to understand and to see yourself and in the ways and the things that you need to grow, to help you really deal and confront with your past, to help you to be a better individual for yourself and for your family, and to help you to let go and to forgive those who have hurt you, who have wronged you and violated you. You didn't deserve it. It was not your fault. However, if you stay in a place of holding a grudge or resentment, it will tamper with your health. And the Father also, the word says, how can I forgive you? He said, I forgive you of all of your trespasses if you forgive those who trespassed against you. I will forgive you of all of your trespasses if and when you forgive those who have trespassed against you. That doesn't mean that you need to let them in. That doesn't mean that you need to give them the same access to you. That doesn't mean that you need to, allow them to allow that energy in your house. But you do need to, even if they don't ask for forgiveness, you say, Father, I forgive them. I pray that you heal them. I pray that you will grow them and mature them and make their stony hearts soft, and that they would learn the error of their ways, and that they aren't hurting anyone else. And if that means that you need to put somebody on blast it. Put them on blast. Okay, because sometimes people aren't going to ask for forgiveness unless the world knows, and then it's, oh, I'm sorry, I should have never did that. And then now they are in a place to actually grow prayerfully. But yeah, so this was really just an introduction to Dani's diary. I hope that you will meet me on my next episode, on my next diary entry, because that's what these will be. These will be my diary entries. I pray that you are here for my journey. I am here and praying for yours. But thank you, guys. I want you to like, comment, and share this video if you think that my stories are going to help and bless someone else. I'll be posting this video, and as a matter of fact, when I post this video, I'll be posting this one and then my first diary entry. All right, you guys have a beautifully blessed day. Until next time.